how can you call the Shaykh that part of the anatomy? You don't call anybody that part of the anatomy. But she does. And it's alright. Joking. Let me tell you how the Prophet ﷺ dealt with people from the Shama'il. There was a time, a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ, he's in the dars like this, and a woman came bursting in. She's angry, really angry. She came, my husband! I said, just sit down. My husband! My husband is, and he... She says, just calm. Your husband, is he the one with white all round his eyeballs? He says to her, what's wrong with my husband's eyes? What's wrong with my husband's eyes? And everybody's laughing. Some of them loud and some just... And then he just smiles at her and she says, does your husband have white around his eyeballs? And then she stops and she thinks, of course he has white around his eyeballs. Everybody has white around their eyeballs. And then she looks at his face and he's smiling at her. And she realizes the Prophet ﷺ is joking with her. And then she laughs and she says, yeah, okay. So he says, okay, tell me about your husband. She says, okay, look, we've got some problems. And it's completely different. He made a joke to ease the tension of the relationship. Now, how do you become a good husband? How do you become a good wife? It's by understanding the Prophet ﷺ. The more you understand about him, the better you will be. And that's what each one of us needs to strive for, is how do you relate? Not just about how to pray and how to do this, but how did he talk to the kids? How did he talk to his wife? How did he talk to people he loved? How did he talk to people he didn't love? How did he talk to people he's just met? If I felt that I was insulting you, please forgive me. But I'm pretty certain you're on the same wavelength. Okay, we're both having a laugh, and it's okay. Am I rightly assuming that you don't mind me teasing you?
No, it's okay.
And that's because there's a love that we didn't know each other before this. In fact, he didn't even want to come because he thought I was a Scot, and that's fine. That's actually makes me laugh, and that's how relationships. You need to see, how did the Prophet ﷺ relate to people? When did he laugh? When did he joke? And when was he strict? When was he strict with people? Because sometimes people will say, well, you're a bit harsh on so-and-so. Because the Prophet ﷺ could be harsh. There was an occasion where the Prophet ﷺ turned to Sayyidina Ali and says, why are you wearing your mother's clothes? And Sayyidina Ali says, are they not good? He says, no, burn them. Labbaik ya Rasulullah, he went away, tore up his clothes and burned them and buried them. You think that's pretty harsh. For the Prophet ﷺ turned to him and says, why are you wearing your mother's clothes? Take them off and burn them. Somebody wore exactly the same clothes, and the Prophet ﷺ just sat in the dars and said nothing. He didn't criticize them. He didn't tell them that this isn't good. Then afterwards he said to somebody, why don't you speak to so-and-so and say that colour of clothes is not, it's not my favourite, and next time wear something else. Exactly the same clothes. One of them he says, take it off and burn it. And the other one, he didn't even criticize. So sometimes you need to know how to talk to people. And that's part of how being a good wife or husband. That's a pretty easy one. Are there any questions further about that? Because we only have a short time. Right, we have children, we have work-family balance, and we have challenges in marriage and divorce. They're the ones that I can remember. Right, we can probably do one or two. Anybody want to be bold and shout and say, do this one? Except for Amir, because he's chilled out. He's getting towards the end of the course.
I think challenges in marriage.
Challenges in marriage. Type.
Yeah,
right.
Children, they come they come with each other.
Let me explain the one that I said, because I was rather flippant, and then I quoted a Mississippi Blues song when I should have been quoting the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ said the most important relationship of a woman is to her husband. The greatest haqq that she has is to her husband. But the greatest responsibility of the husband is to his mother. Can you not see a problem in there? When I say mother-in-law, this is the most difficult relationship that can take place, because a woman cannot expect to be the mother or even to get the status of the husband's mother. And intrinsic into this relationship is a problem. So when I say mother-in-law, it is actually really complicated. And it's not just a flippant thing. How does it manifest? It manifests in lots and lots of different cultural ways, and some of them are discussed in here. What role does the matriarch have, the lead woman in the community, over everybody else? And in certain cultures, some of which are dominant in Oslo, the matriarch is the one who can make any woman coming into that community's life hell or heaven. And that's a responsibility on the elder woman that should be taken seriously. And likewise, a young man who is bringing a woman into that community or into that family needs to be aware of the dynamic and how that girl will be accepted or not accepted into that community, and needs to be aware of the consequences to that person. And again, going back to my own situation, I needed to think, well, how is this girl going to come into my family? And it was difficult. One, because I was recently divorced, and there was not a long time between my divorce and my remarriage. Plus, she's younger than I am. She's from another culture. So there's all kinds of things that I need to take into account on where she sits in the family. But at the same time, I was confident that as soon as somebody knows her, they'll think she's great. They'll think she swears too much, but they'll think she's great. And that's exactly what happened. But I had to think that through. And likewise, she needed to think, what is the consequence of her marrying somebody older? Her marrying somebody who's out of her culture. Somebody marrying who doesn't speak Urdu. Who doesn't, so many things. But she weighed that all up and she says, well, actually, I don't give her. And that was what her decision was. And that has a consequence for me, because she might not give her. But I've got to deal with her parents, because it's me that's dealing with my in-laws. And alhamdulillah, her father-in-law, as soon as I managed to quote Iqbal back at him, he loves me. And he even said, I love him more than my own kids. Not because I quote Iqbal, but I don't know. So that whole thing about in-laws is quite important when you think about marriage. And it does present challenges that continually go through the marriage of how do you relate with this power base of in-laws. And in some communities, in-laws are more powerful and need to be thought through how this is going. And a lot of cases where I'm dealing with marriage guidance is actually built around this. So that's one of the challenges. And I thought I'll deal with my own first, in case people think I'm being flippant by mentioning. Right, communication. That if people don't talk, they're not gonna move forward. And I know. I'll give you an example of one situation I was in recently about how important communication is. A guy came to me and he was really struggling with his marriage, and he talked to me, and in the end I says, look, if you feel the way you feel, you need to talk to her. And in the end, if you feel the way you feel, you need to think about moving on, because you can't feel the way you feel and still stay in a successful marriage. You have to either change what you feel or move on, because you can't feel that way and still be happy in your marriage. It's not going to work, which is not what anybody wanted to hear, because in effect what I'm doing, I'm saying, if you can't sort it out, move on, divorce her. He actually left me feeling quite happy, because I was the first person who gave him the green light to divorce his wife. Everybody had said, it's absolutely not possible. And I wasn't saying divorce his wife. What I was saying was you need to sort this out. You can't feel what you're feeling towards your wife and still be married to her. It's not fair on you, it's not fair on her. You need to sort it out. Lo and behold, a couple of weeks later he divorces her. And they call me in a panic, everybody. Not quite to blame me, but they also know that at some point he started to feel better. He was in depression, then he comes to meet me, then he's happy, then he divorces his wife and he's even happier. It must be Abdul Aziz that's done the dirty trick on him. So they call me, sort it out. So, fine, I'll go and talk to them. So we went and I talked to him, talked to her, and they says, well, we're divorced. What should we do? I says, well, how do you want to move your divorce forward? You divorced once, how are you going to move it forward? I don't know. I says, okay, I've got a suggestion. Do you mind, she has a right to stay in this house, which is, according to the law, she has a right to stay in the house. You also have a right to stay in this house. Would you be able to live in the same house during the iddah period, which is technically permitted? In terms of Sharia, I'm not encouraging something haram. They're married, and if they decide that he's done the divorce, but they're not separating and actually moving on, they can stay under the same roof. Yeah, it's probably more convenient. I says it is more convenient. And you know what? Just put the divorce behind you. You're divorced. Why not just talk as friends? Just talk as friends. You don't have to be nasty to each other because you're divorced. You're not married anymore. You don't need to be horrible. You can be nice now. Just talk about what's wrong with you, what you feel. And I knew that what was going to happen. He was going to say all the things that he felt which he couldn't actually say. The next day they phoned me and they say, thank you so much. We repaired our marriage and we decided to move on. I've never spoken as honestly about my life as I did last night. And the next time they came to me, he came because he said, I'm really feeling depressed and I really need to talk to her, but I can't. I says, fine, let me call her. And I call her and I says, look, he's really struggling, he wants to talk but he can't. How do you feel? She just cried. Can I come and talk to you? She came and I says, you need to talk to each other. And then I talked to them about something and they went off. Next day she bought me cakes and says, I don't know what you've done, but every time we meet, somehow our marriage gets better. Nothing to do with me. What did I do? I didn't do anything except to say talk. And they talked. So communication is really the key. There's so many here. Has anyone got a burning one of any of these that they want to deal with in case we don't get to it? Because I'd rather prioritise that way. Is there somebody that's like, I want to talk about this, please?
Challenges growing the children up, where the woman wants the other way and the men wants the other way because of psychology and the atmosphere.
Yeah.
They think otherwise, they think. So this is some main challenging, I think, especially in these countries,
Okay, right. I was lucky enough to work on a book which eventually got translated as called Educating Children. And in there, it took me about 10 years. I translated the text in days, but it actually took me 10 years to write the book because it took me time to work through exactly what I was thinking. And alhamdulillah, after 10 years of teaching and working with it, I kind of got... But in that poem, something which was really quite, what my wife would have said, extremely sexist. It said, the meaning of which was, the mother should threaten the child with the father. The mother should threaten the child with the father. In other words, daddy's coming home, or daddy will. And in our case, if Sarah said to Idris, my son, daddy will, he'll just laugh at her. And I know because once the other day I made a mistake, and there's a stool in the bathroom. It was supposed to be in the corner of the bathroom, so I said we have to put the chucky in the corner. We have to put the stool in the corner. No, I don't want to go in the corner. What? No, don't tell Mummy to put me in the corner. I thought, and I was really kind of shocked. And then I realized I could have got anything. I could have just said to him, if you don't do this, I'm going to tell Mummy to put you in the corner. So it's actually the opposite of what the poem said. So how am I going to translate the poem? Going back to the question is about consistency. And Habib Umar bin Hafiz, one of the great scholars in the Yemen, I put this to him and he says it doesn't really matter. It's not about men and women. It's about consistency. In a family you need to have balance. You need to work together, but you need to also balance each other out. Because I will never be the big bully. I've never hit a child. So there's no point in me turning around and saying, I'll give you a big smack. Because I know, I've said that to Idris. Do you want a smack? And he just laughs at me. And he says, no, I know one snack. I had breakfast. I know one snack. And he knows exactly what I'm saying. Because I can't threaten him. But if I look at him, I'm sure I'm going to get the same reaction as his sister. If I look at him, he'll cry. So I know that threatening him isn't going to work. Whereas I don't believe in putting a child in the corner. This is against my principles. But I will never criticize Sarah for doing it. I just won't actively support her. I will not criticize her. And if she puts him in the corner and he looks at me and he goes, Daddy! Daddy! I'll just look the other way. I won't go to him. Because what would happen if I did? That's his mother's relationship finished. She will never be able to discipline him. Even though I don't agree with it. And I've told her I don't agree with it. So she asked me, should I stop it? And I says, it's up to you. I says, you don't have